is tomorrow when the Insurrection Act gets enacted? What is
I hope so. I hope so.
Huh?
Good morning, Steph.
Okay, so we've already had a discussion on the John Bolton thing. He fired back, vowing, as Tish Jane just did, to fight the charges and expose Trump's abuse of power. Many things can be true at once. So he said my book was reviewed and approved by the appropriate experienced career clearance officials. When my email was hacked in 2021, the FBI was made fully aware. In 4 years of the prior administration, after these reviews, no charges were ever filed. Then came Trump 2, who embodies what Joseph Stalin's head of the police once said, "You show me the man, I'll show you the crime." I look forward to fight to defend my lawful conduct and expose his abuse of power. So I've heard, some legal experts, I think it was Ellie Honig, said, if prosecutors can prove these charges, that's always the big if. John Bolton's conduct to me is more serious, certainly, than we saw in the investigations of Hillary Clinton, Mike Pence, of Joe Biden. Here's where I disagree. See, what you even more serious than the conduct that got Donald Trump indicted. He said,
come on.
I know. He said John Bolton didn't just mishandle the information. He didn't keep it in a box or in a garage or even scattered around a resort. He actively disseminated it to people, family members. He said the indictment talks about information relating to military attack plans, to missile launches, to foreign leaders, to sensitive sources and methods. And third of all, Bolton's team was not exactly forthcoming about this. There came a point where they learned his email had been hacked by Iran. They notified the FBI, but they omitted the fact that Bolton had been using that account to communicate with these outsiders. So I think if DOJ can prove this is big trouble for John Bolton. So give us your whole... I'm just, again, we're not lawyers, but you tell us your take.
Yeah, Steph, I don't think you need me because you opened on exactly the right point. Two things can be true at once. This can be a vindictive prosecution.
Thank you.
That may prove to be a violation of John Bolton's due process rights. Hence, it may get dismissed by a judge. However, at the same time, Bolton could have violated the law by unlawfully retaining and disseminating classified information. Those two things are not mutually exclusive. So I couldn't disagree more that there's any parity between what Donald Trump did, stealing boxes and boxes of classified documents, hiding them at Mar-a-Lago in ballrooms and bathrooms, and entering into a conspiracy to have people move those damn boxes around after the grand jury had subpoenaed their return. And what John Bolton did, which appears to be a little bit like what General David Petraeus did. He wanted to write a book, so he was writing up his daily experiences. These are described as diary entries, and he's emailing them to his wife and his daughter, not exactly sending them to, nefarious enemies that want to harm our national security. This is like night and day. This is more, I would call it like technical violations of the law, perhaps bad, and he should be held accountable, but he shouldn't be held accountable vindictively.
Thank you. Well, I mean, again, how can you not say this is selective when you just mentioned everything Trump did? And how about Pete Hegseth and the Signalgate chat? That's what selective prosecution is. I don't like you. I'm going to prosecute you. I like you. So I'm not going to, this is antithetical to everything you've devoted your life to, Glenn, to the justice system, which is supposed to be no one is above the law. That's just been, exploded under Trump, right?
Yeah, it's hard watching the rule of law die a little bit each day at the hands of Pam Bondi and Donald Trump. The good news is lots of federal judges are still standing up and holding strong against Donald Trump's lawlessness and unconstitutionality, and something that a unanimous three-panel of an appeals court just did in affirming Judge April Perry's order that, no, you may not deploy troops to the streets of Chicago. They said, and I quote, "Political opposition is not rebellion." That's right. Protest is patriotism. And so I hope we all get out there tomorrow and are the patriots we need to be in this moment.
Yeah, absolutely. And we brought this up during the break. Is tomorrow when the Insurrection Act gets enacted? What is
I hope so. I hope so.
Huh?
Because it will be such a gross, lawless, unconstitutional overreach that, Steph, it will galvanize us. It will energize and motivate us. It won't cause us to go running into our houses and hide under the bed. And what we need right now is for the people to rise up peacefully, always peacefully. Let them engage in violence. Look, I don't want to be hit in the head with a nightstick or tear gassed or, have rubber bullets shot at me. But you know what? I'm willing to do that, as have others through American history, to make sure we dethrone the tyrant.
Yeah. You know what? Your voice wouldn't be so important tomorrow if they weren't so terrified of it and calling everyone that goes to these things or disagrees with Trump terrorists, Hamas sympathizers, what a violent criminals. I mean, they're obviously terrified of the size and scope of what's going to happen tomorrow, aren't they?
Yeah, and I think it's not terribly likely that he'll invoke the Insurrection Act, because I think even the imbeciles around him recognize that if he does it, when all we're doing, as the federal judges have said we have a right, indeed a responsibility to do, is assemble and exercise our First Amendment free speech rights and petition the government for a redress of grievances, if that's all we're doing, and he tries to tamp us down with the Insurrection Act, that will be a miscalculation.
So you obviously threaded judge rules against Trump sending troops into Chicago. Chris mentioned that Amy Coney Barrett did a podcast. I didn't know Handmaid still had a podcast, but anyway, but no, tell Glenn, because this is I hate when Chris starts the interview during the commercial break, because I keep trying to tell people nothing you say to Chris matters.
It wasn't an interview. I was genuinely curious because I had never heard of this situation before.
But Glenn said exactly the same thing I did. But talk about what she said.
She talked about the Andrew Jackson situation in the 1800s, where the Supreme Court ruled that Georgia couldn't enforce laws that were on the Cherokee Nation inside its borders. And Andrew Jackson said, yeah, nice ruling, good luck enforcing it, when he was president. So, Supreme Court rulings are only as good as the executive branch that enforces the laws.
And we hip-checked each other into the boards going, maybe that's why you shouldn't give anyone presidential immunity.
And I agree with that, absolutely.
I mean, did anyone bring that up to her? I'm curious. Did anyone say, well, yeah, when you've given him presidential immunity, that's right?
Yeah, and the other thing she said, which really aggravated me, to put it mildly, is she's on this book tour now, and she was on Fox, of all places, and she said, no, justices don't make the rules. We just make sure people are playing by the rules. Well, if that were true, you would not have created presidential immunity out of whole cloth and contrary to the express terms of the Constitution. So don't tell me you don't make the rules. You do, and you make the rules for, the top dog criminal presently in the United States, Donald Trump. So, you just can't credit a word that comes out of her mouth.
I wanted to talk to you both, Yahweh and Yesh, because I wrote a book, and it's about you guys, but it's really about some of your fans. The mean ones, the racist ones, the homophobe ones, the ones who don't like women. You guys come off really well in the book. Jesus, you come off really good in this book.
Yeah, I've heard that when people talk about the Bible, they tell me that God, you come off really well.
Said no one ever.
Jesus comes off really well. Yeah, no, God, you're very impressive, God. I don't want to say the wrong thing, but you there's some moments, Almighty, where you're kind of the alcoholic stepgod, you know what I'm saying? But Jesus, he's chill throughout, like he's proof of evolution.
But John, people have been twisting my message, right? And that's what this book is about.
It really is, Jesus. I mean, I've gone through this book of yours many times. You never said anything against the gays. You never said anything against women having to be forced to be pregnant. I mean, you're not against abortion. You're against the death penalty, Jesus. I know that. You're like your dad in that you tell us to welcome the stranger.
Yeah. I mean, the right people are twisting my message left and right, and we can't take it anymore. So we're so excited to have this book, a really rock solid resource to show people what the Bible actually says. And that's why we love you, John. You're spreading our true good word.
Simon & Schuster's Avid Reader Press presents Separation of Church and Hate, the bold, hilarious new book from John Fugelsang.